Okay, people online, you're very welcome to PPI, to On the PPI Journey. My name is Edel Murphy. I work at the PPI Ignite Network. So, without further ado, let's proceed to the business. This section is about setting the context for today, setting the context for the event that we have. Today is about celebrating the Public Advisory Board in the PPI Ignite Network. It's reaching the end of its 3-year term. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But to say that we have worked together, this is the organising group for today's event. We have 4 people here on the top row who are members of the Public Advisory Board. They worked with Edel Tierney, who is from Tusla and has been very closely involved with the PAB, Public Advisory Board, over its lifetime, and with 3 of us from the National Office. So this organising group have worked together to plan and think about what today is about. And the key themes that emerged from our planning was that we want to focus today to be on fun and humour in PPI, that we want to, particularly in our workshops, look at building skill sets to empower the public to become active contributors with researchers and empower people to become involved. And also we wanted to link in with the overall theme for the National Festival, which is around celebrating our history and embracing our future. And as we began to talk and plan, it became very obvious that everybody feels they've been on a journey. And that's what fed into the title of the event and our subtitles, Learning from the Past, Stories from the Present, and Aspirations from the Future. So in preparation for today, we really wanted an event that was looking at PPI through the eyes of the public contributor. And one of the things we thought we would do is, rather than have big, long biographies of everybody, that we would put together a short information sheet which contains a couple of lines that everybody gave us describing themselves in the context of today. There's a QR code here and it's available from the calendar of events as well. So, what are we going to do today? So here's our agenda. I am trying to set the context, and we have our first keynote now. And then we have 3 case studies describing the journey to here from around Ireland.
Sorry, Edel, can you go back to the QR code? I missed it.
Yep, so we'll go back to the QR code for a minute. So after our 3 case studies, we will break for lunch, which is going to be out in the foyer area. People online, we will break for lunch, and people online will rejoin for workshops at 2 o'clock. There's an online workshop being delivered by colleagues from the University of Limerick at 2 o'clock. And for people here with us, are we good to move on? We will have at 1:30 outside a surprise team building energizer led by John Mitchell, who has kindly come to join us from Barrettstown. And then at 2 o'clock, we have 3 different workshops. And we'll come back in here at 3:15 to look at the future, the road ahead. So, from my own point of view, I suppose, as I thought about today and sidebar, I want to make one point here that we have used the term public voice. Many different terms are used: the public, the patient, service user, the PPI contributor, a person with lived experience. They're interchangeable. Use any other term that's appropriate. And I suppose just last night, a few of us were talking and we were saying the word person with lived experience is actually getting great traction now, but all of these mean the same thing, and today we have used the word public voice for the context of today. So, in terms of my thinking about today, I titled this in the beginning, We Had a Dream. But when I began to think about it, from my own point of view, I suppose I reflected on how I had got involved in PPI. And I realised it brought me back a lot further than the Ignite programme. And it brought me back to years ago. I was an athlete, I was in a local running club. And when I was around Galway, if I saw a woman out running, I knew her, because there were actually only 6 women in Galway who ran. So I realised this was very odd. And I had some friends whose husbands were runners, and I thought, wouldn't it be a good idea if? But the first thing I did, and I can still remember the night I went over to her house, I sat down with one of my friends and I said to her, I'm thinking about setting up a group for women who have never been involved in sport, never ran. Do you think that would work? So she was really enthusiastic, and with some other friends who had similar profiles, we began to plan something that would be liked by and enthusiastic and taken part by the cohort we were trying to meet, and the Galway Meet and Train group was formed. I'm carefully not putting in what particular year it was. This is a picture from quite some time back. When you get the slides, you can swap me in it. And this was my first introduction to working with people to see what they wanted and delivering from there. I led it for about 3 years, and I suppose now I could say I empowered, I certainly didn't know the word then, somebody from the group who had never led anything, took it over and led it for about 7 or 8 years. And actually, ultimately from that group, for anyone who's in Galway, the person who set up the Galway Fit for Life emerged. So I think if I was doing an impact case study, I'd have lots of evidence for that. So from there, I did work also in the IT industry, where I was always at that intersection between people with a lot of technical knowledge, the software developers, and the end users. I came into research probably through a non-traditional route as a program manager. And I suppose when I started initially, I was aware of kind of the isolation of academics doing their research and how far removed they were from the people they were doing their research on. But for me, probably the light bulb moment happened the first year that the HRB put into their call guidance when they were about to launch, or when they were launching a new funding call. And in it there was a line that said, please tell us how you're planning to involve the public and patients in your research. And I remember the PI, I was helping somebody to do the grant at the time, and there was kind of a bit of a, ooh, what's this? And I said, hey, I think I've got this, leave it with me. And I actually looked through my email to prepare for today, and I found an email from 2014 that I sent one evening to Andrew, who was the principal investigator. See attached a rough outline of how PPI might work. And I said, look, we need to talk about it. We need to see what exactly go into it, because I think at the HRB midterm review, we need to be able to show we have implemented our user involvement plan. And when I looked at the attached document, I realised that in it, I had actually said, well, this is who I think the who are. This is where we might have impact, and it had some of the things we're all familiar with now, study design, the information sheets, the study logistics, and so on. And I also had a proposal on how we won't scrutinise that too closely. Things have developed a lot, let's say, but it wasn't far off the mark. So that was 2014. That actually led to the funding application was successful for the HRB Primary Care Clinical Trials Network. And within that group, I was lucky enough to get a position working with them. And we set up the Primary Care Clinical Trials Network PPI group. This is a photograph from the first meeting we had, and I'm delighted to say that there are people in the room and people online who are still part of that group, and that I think was February 2016. So I moved on from there, and then this is where the dream around Ignite started. So in 2018, the first phase of this PPI Ignite programme, which was about trying to change the research culture, began. Sean Deneen was the leader here in the University of Galway, and I was the programme manager. And as we were planning it, we felt we couldn't have an initiative in this space without having some kind of a, wasn't sure what we'd call it, group of the people that we were trying to bring the change for. So, drawing on our previous experience, Sean had already done some work, a lot of work, with young people with diabetes, and we'll hear more about that later. So, putting our heads together, we realised that we were trying to change the research culture. So, this wasn't about impacting a research project, but we had probably a gut instinct to set up some kind of a public advisory panel. And hey presto, our Galway public, well, it wasn't hey presto as we all know, but we did set up a public advisory panel that worked with us, and it was a real journey of growth and learning all around. And Edel Tierney, who's been mentioned already, helped us with this. And again, here's a photo from one of our first meetings, and again, there are people here who are here in the room, and you will hear from them today. So, this was when our dream was tested first, and therefore it was natural that when we came to lead the PPI Ignite network, that we would follow the same idea. And we took guidance and advice from the Galway group when we were beginning to plan, and we worked with researchers and some other people from around the country to set up the Public Advisory Board. That was one of the recommendations from the Galway people, that really at this level we were going to talk about a board, and we developed a strategy and a process to do it. We put out an expression of interest, and critically, we identified the key diverse voices that we wanted in this Public Advisory Board. And the emphasis was on individual contributors. Elsewhere in the network, we had patient organisations, we had community organisations. So this was to include individuals who were working in the space, had PPI experience, and those new to it. And we were particularly keen to include people from diverse backgrounds around Ireland. And we wanted people from all around Ireland. And that we would work to, that this group would have a 3-year term of office, that it would work with us, meaning Sean, myself, and we've had Casey and John Gaffey working with us at different stages in the national office, and the aim was to influence the network's programme of work. So this is the context within which the Public Advisory Board was set up. So why today? Why on the PPI journey? Well, it's very much around acknowledging and celebrating the contribution of the PAB over the last 3 years. It's about giving us all an opportunity to have an event driven by the public voice, as I mentioned earlier. And now, as the phase 2 of the PPI Ignite network draws to a close, and there's a new phase beginning in March 2026, it's a good time to celebrate the progress with the PAB and overall, to reflect on what has evolved, and to think about the future. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a story in terms of where we're at. And without further ado, we set up our PAB. We had 11 members. I'm delighted to say that all 11, now we did have 2 people who dropped out for various different reasons, and we had 2 people came in mid-term, but all of the 11 current members are contributing to today in some way. So, without further ado, I'm going to let you hear from 4 of them. So bear with me now.
The PPI Ignite network is changing how research is done, ensuring that people with lived experience have a genuine voice in shaping it by collaborating closely with researchers. Let's hear what some members of our Public Advisory Board have to say about their involvement in the network.
The impact of my being a member of the PAB committee was very positive, and it allowed me to learn more about research involvement, what research is about, and also encouraged me to bring that knowledge and understanding to the migrant community to build the trust between the community and the researchers.
In May of 2022, I availed of the opportunity to join the Public Advisory Board of the PPI Ignite network. It gave me an opportunity to meet a group of like-minded individuals who share a common goal, and to avail of the opportunity to give something back. 3 years since, and I can look back fondly at what we have been able to achieve during our brief time together.
I got involved because I had been doing research grant reviews for the for the Health Research Board. Well, as a layman, you know, which is interesting. But I must have been on some websites, and then the PPI Ignite contacted me, and I kind of joined up with them. It's enriched my life, certainly. I'm actually a widow, so I'm living on my own, and after a while, you'd like some sort of something to stimulate the brain cells. So that's what it does for me, and keeps me occupied. And I find it fascinating, very interesting. Yeah, and the great thing is that I'm part of it. You know, only as a lay person, but I want a lay person's contribution, you see.
Serving on the Public Advisory Board of the PPI Ignite Network has been an incredibly rewarding experience on both a professional and personal level. It's given me much deeper insight into the challenges and opportunities within the research landscape, and in turn helped me to develop new skills and confidence that I will carry forward. The experience has strengthened my role as an embedded patient researcher and broadened my perspective on how I can contribute more effectively to research and beyond. And most importantly, it's been a journey of growth that I know will continue to shape my work into the future.
The challenges that I encountered in being a member of the PAB is, first of all, the language that is being used is very, very hard on a high level of education. Researchers use a certain language that I was not very, very familiar with, which I struggled with. Secondly, the timing of the meetings would not really fit in very well with my time, so I may have missed some meetings that are important. And third, also building the trust between the migrant community and the researchers was quite very tricky, but I was able to do that and slightly improved it.
So the PPI Ignite Network has reshaped the Irish research ecosystem by embedding the public voice throughout every stage of the research process, from initial concept to translation into practice. This approach has made research more collaborative, impactful, and aligned with the needs of the community. And crucially, it's cultivated a new generation of researchers who view their work through the lens of those who benefit from it. In doing so, the network has enhanced research quality while ensuring it remains relevant, inclusive, and responsive to real-world challenges. And with momentum and PPI now created, it's essential not to lose pace or focus, but to build on the progress and lessons learned to ensure future growth and sustainability.
The largest challenge that the Public Advisory Board had and was going to have was how to make a meaningful impact. What this would look like, what shape it would take, and how serious it would be taken. Could we make a positive impact? This we were adamant that it would, but we needed to ensure that we had buy-in from all elements of research, from the universities, professionals, and the practitioners, which we managed to do.
For further information on the PPI Ignite Network, please visit our online hub.
Excellent. So I hope that gives you a flavour of the variety and the members of the PAB. So we'll move on now to our first keynote speaker.